Alright guys, I thought I would ride you guys around the farm today just quickly and tell you a little history about the place. And we're blessed to have it, and I thought I would just show you guys around a little quick video here. Somewhere in these woods right here, when I was a kid, probably right over in that area, was a log house that was getting ready to fall in. There's really not one bit of it left. It was just a kind of they didn't even debark the logs, they just kind of laid them in place, and I think there was some cement and metal steps that went up into it. And when my grandfather would be farming, we were just little bitty kids, we would play over there, me and my cousin. He doesn't really remember it, I don't think, too much, but it was right over there in those woods, and as a kid, that kind of sparked my interest into wanting to, you know, build a log house someday or live in one. So me and my grandfather built a log house here on the farm, and that's where we live. But this is the old barns down there, and this, we still cut hay here on the field some, and this is a little area that we ride four-wheelers and dirt bikes and just have a big time. Yeah, right over there is like a little flat place somewhere in those woods was a little old log cabin. So yeah, I just thought we'd ride around a little bit here on the Timberwolf today, show you guys around the farm. It's basically, I say farm, but we don't really have too many animals. We just got the hay field here, and I set out about 1,500 yellow pines, so it's sort of basically a tree farm really is what it is. You can see all the pines over there, and we have a bunch down here, but just a good little place to, little spread here, and super glad to have it. It's been a good getaway for us when the world's crazy. But yeah, I just thought we'd ride around a little bit on the Timberwolf and show you guys around, tell you a little bit about it. And I don't remember the story 100% the way it goes, but I remember some of it, and I think probably my uncles and cousins could tell me if I'm wrong about this, but later on I'll tell you guys how the farm got into our family, and a little bit about that backstory, which is, to me, is really cool if I'm remembering it correctly. But this is pretty much the property line here. This field is kind of the property line for that side over there. But down there in the back of the property is a creek. And the creek, acts as the rear, or, you know, the backmost part of the property line. We got some fruit trees here. They're not looking too healthy right now because it's winter time, but they'll sprout back out. The poor old barn, it's just about had it. It's I'm not really sure why, but they put that barn on a spring head when that was built. That thing was probably built in the 40s, but it stays wet inside it, so we don't really use it for anything anymore. But my cousin and his twin boys love to ride too, bikes and four-wheelers, and we made some trails, so we'll hit up some of them trails here and show you guys around a little bit. I think I have a little video where I took my daughter's little 90cc Badger and went around it, but I think I was holding my cell phone, so we'll do a little bit better on the GoPro. This little area right here is one of my favorite parts. You guys have probably seen, I filmed some of my videos here for the CT, but right here we're planning on doing a little bungalow cabin someday. Maybe you can see the stakes in the ground there. But this is one of the trails that my cousins helped me build. It's a neat little trail, and it's in some of my other videos, but at least you guys get an idea. Huh. Like a blue jay maybe or something. That's weird. Had a fight there, maybe. So this is going to be another part of the trail that we cut several years ago, and this is actually heading down to the back side of the property to the creek. I don't actually get to come back here a ton with working and stuff all the time, but it's a really nice area. There's the creek down there. Got a good little bit of water in it today, looks like. I know the GoPro doesn't do it justice at all, but that's a pretty steep climb that we just came down. Descent rather. Yeah, it's got a good little bit of water in it today. Yep, just a nice little area. I really like coming down here in the summertime and splashing through here on the bikes. A little chilly today for that. Alright guys, so we're headed back up out of the bottom of the back side of the property now. I'm still on the trail that cousins helped build. Actually, my daughter helped build this one when she was really little. So this one here's a little older trail, but it's still, we try to keep it up pretty good. It's a little tight through here. Now, straight in front of us, I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but there's a pretty big gully and it has like a little wet weather stream there. And that kinda is really close to the, I guess you would say, the western property line for the farm here. Yeah, you can kind of see it now maybe. It goes up that big hill. I hate how GoPro gets rid of the steepness sometimes. I see people saying how steep their videos are, or how steep the trail is, like out west and stuff. It's like it looks completely flat, but it's really not. So a couple of options on the trails here. This particular trail here is going to tee, and we can take a right and go back out to the southern side of the property, or we can take a left here and climb and go over near where my campsite is. So we'll go that way. Uh-oh. It's like a tree broke over here. That's weird. Maybe the ice did it. It's a holly tree. It's pretty fresh. I bet the ice broke it over. Trees are pretty soft usually. Yeah, so like I was talking about, well, this tree's been blown over for a while, but like this right up through here is pretty steep. Not terribly, but I mean, it's way steeper than the camera makes it look. So years ago, I made a little campsite here, and this is where I do some filming sometimes. There's the fire ring and a little seat. You can look through the woods there and see my shop, but pretty neat little spot right here. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel today. So like I said before, I was going to tell you about the history of the farm here and how we acquired it, and I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, I had some uncles that said that was the wrong story, and some other uncles that said it was the right story. So I'm going to tell it. It's a good story if it's correct. If it's not, my uncles can correct me, and I'll correct it in the comments. But anyway, so like I said before, it's been in the family for a long time, and blessed to have it, super glad to have it. And I just wanted to ride you guys around and show you today, because all of a sudden it's beautiful. It was 20, 30 degrees this morning. Now it's like, I don't know, but it's probably 50s. And thought, hey, take a lunch break, ride around a little bit, take the camera. So here we go with the story. So in the 70s, it got slow like it did in 08 and 09. Now, my grandfather had a hardware business, I think from the late 60s, early 70s until 1987. And back then, the hardware business was just like Lowe's and Home Depot. It was just scaled down. You had these small mom and pop hardwares, no such thing as Lowe's and Home Depot. They had roofing material, lumber, fencing material, pretty much anything you needed to build a house or keep your farm up or whatever you needed, you know. And my grandfather had a partner, and his business was called Hendricks Hardware, and they called it Hendricks Hardware because of the fellow that owned the building they were in. His last name was Hendricks. So the other fellow and him had a 50-50 American Hardware business. That's what it was. That's their franchise, American Hardware, and then I think they may have swapped to Service Star. But anyway, it was in the town of Pickens. And there's actually still a little mom and pop hardware store like 200 yards down the road that was in business when my grandpa was there, and it's awesome. If you ever go to Pickens, South Carolina, it's called Bivens Hardware. Walk in there, the floor creaks. It's an awesome place. You won't even get across the threshold before a couple of fellas will ask you what you need. If you need some help, what can we do for you? Where you know, what part of the store would you like? Just good place. It's got this old time, you know, back in the day feel to it. It's great. You go in there, and what's crazy, I've been to Ace and Home Depot and all these places looking for a certain bolt, you know, crazy thread, crazy length, and walk in there and they pull a drawer open, there's dust everywhere, and they hand it to you. So I forget about it sometimes, but it's a place to go. Anyway, in the 70s, my pop, which was my hero, I had all four of my grandparents, and they were all heroes to me, but my grandpa Watson owned a farm, and he was just, he could walk up to a tree and cut it down, you know, and never think twice. And me and my cousins were just looking at him like, man, he can do anything. If you was sick, he could nurse you back to health, you know. He was just a good fella. It was kind of like kids had comic book characters. I had my grandpa. I think I've said that before, but he was just good to us, man, and just a great fella. But anyway, little backstory on him. He was in the hardware store. Nothing was going on. Like I said, it was mid-70s. And it was crazy times. There was gas crunch. You had to have like certain stamps to buy gas on certain days. It was just really crazy. And they normally split their lunch. So my grandpa would go to lunch at 12 to 1, and his partner, or 12 to 1:30, and then his partner would go from 1:30 to 2, or what, you know, whatever. There was always somebody there in the store. Well, one day they were like, you know what, we ain't doing anything. Let's shut the door and go to lunch. So they headed down to town, went to lunch, went down through a little mill village. And if you guys don't know much about mill villages, it's sort of a southern thing. We had textile here big time in the South back in the day, cotton mills, denim mills, things like that. This town I'm in is actually formed from a denim mill, but or the town I'm nearest to. But anyway, the plant or the factory would get built, you know, the textile mill, and then a village would form around it, and usually the mill actually built the houses, and they were pretty much all uniform, but they were nice, and they were a good place. They had a little piece of property, and you basically were just purchasing your house for who you worked for. And it was these little villages formed, little tight-knit villages. Well, they're still here. The houses were built really well, so they're still here. Well, at the time, the mill was still going, and like I said, people were losing their jobs. It was just a crazy time. Now, Pop and his partner rolled down through this town, this mill town, and they saw a sign that this house was for sale in foreclosure. So they got out and looked at it, and it was in pretty bad disrepair. And they were like, Went on back to the store, was sitting there like, you know what? Let's take our material. Like I said, they had everything. Let's take what we've already paid for. Let's buy that house and fix it. This world will start to be back to normal soon, and then we can sell it. And maybe instead of sitting here not making a dime, that'll be an investment. So that's what they did. Purchased a house. They fixed it with their own material. It didn't take them very long, and they put a sign out for sale by Hendrix Hardware. And a young man came in one day, and he was like, they wasn't doing anything still, tumbleweeds rolling through, they're sitting there at the counter. He walks in, he says, fellas, he said, is this the right place that has the house for sale? And my grandpa said, yes, sir, this is it. He said, well, he said, my wife's out in the car, she's about to have a baby. We need a place to live. We looked at it, we like it. Looks like you guys fixed it up nice. We got one issue, we don't have any money. So my grandpa said, well, son, do you work? And he said, yeah. And he said, well, if you're still working and you got a paycheck stub and you've been there a few weeks, the savings and loan down here in town will give you a loan for the house. And he said, well, I kind of figured that, but I stopped in here to see how you guys felt about trading. And my pop said, for a house? And he said, yeah. He said, my wife's family had some property and she just inherited it. And he said, there's close to 40 acres. There's an old barn, an old log house. And he said, we can't live in none of that. He said, the wife wants to live in town. We kind of in a jam. What do you think about trading that property for that house? And my grandpa said, did you say 40 acres? And he said, yeah, because even back then that was a lot of property, and it sure is a lot now. But he said, I tell you what, he said, tomorrow at lunch, we'll close the shop down. We'll go down there and check it out and call you. And that fella said, well, you call me. I got the deed in my hand. So they came down here, looked at it, liked it. They split it 50-50. When my grandfather got out of the hardware business in the late 80s, 87, he purchased his partner's half because his partner lived in town and didn't really want to farm. And we started farming it, cut hay off of it, firewood, planted trees. It's just a great place growing up to come that was away from home, it's like a hideout almost. But anyway, that's how, like I said, I got some uncles that told me that ain't exactly how the story went, and a couple of other uncles said, yeah, it is. And then I don't think my cousins remember it really well, but I think that's the story my grandpa told, and unless I dreamed it up. But it's pretty cool if it's true, and I'm pretty sure it is, because people did do some bartering and trading back in the day, and trade an acre of land for a horse or something, But anyway, that's kind of how the place came about. My grandfather divided it up between the grandkids when he passed, and in his will, and we're basically, none of the other grandkids really wanted it. Most of them live out of the state, and so we're basically purchasing it from the family, but really through the bank, so it'll be ours one day, but you just got to grind hard and work hard, and we're blessed to have it, and it'll be ours one day if everything goes well, 100%. And but that's the story, guys. I just thought I would share that with you. I know it's a beautiful day today, and I thought, my followers might want to know about this place. Why not tell them about it, So I appreciate you riding along, guys. Like I said, beautiful day. Ride a little bit more. If you like what you see, smash that like button. Leave me a comment below. And again, appreciate each and every one of you guys. The channel's growing. We're up to a little over 1,600 now. We're still going to do the ride. Me and Cody going to do the ride this spring. We'll try to do some gear reviews before it's time to ride again if I can. It's been crazy at work. We've been doing some travel sports, so it's kind of tough to get out and do anything right now. But I try to make some content for you guys if I can, and keep it rolling, because I enjoy doing this. But hit the like button. Think about subbing to the channel maybe. Sometimes YouTube don't tell about our stuff, so if you sub and hit that little icon bell, it may tell you when we got a new video out. So I'll share it up here, guys. We'll get it edited up, show you guys what's going on, and come back to the next one. Appreciate it again, guys.